Question, No Child Left Behind. Would you make positions in it?
That's what I thought. Congressman Larson didn't just talk about No Child Left Behind because he wasn't there in 2001 either time Congress voted on No Child Left Behind. I think it deserves immediate repeal. We cannot continue to teach to the test. It destroys creativity in young people. We need to create experiential learning programs. We need to reduce class sizes. Talk about both of those very briefly. Experiential learning programs, like one that I pioneered in Hartford, Connecticut, called Echoes from the Streets, was where we took high school students into after-school programs to teach them how to be a journalist. Journalism is a dying art here. We've seen what happens with the registered citizen when corporations cut when they just cut newsrooms and gut it. I understand I'm biting the hand that feeds me right now. But at the same time, experiential learning programs like Echoes from the Streets, after 2 hours of teaching students journalism, I would have kids come up to me and say, "Mister, I learned more in 2 hours than I do in the whole day of school." This program was where we put kids in front of Governor Rowland. We had students interviewing Bill Belichick. We had students going out and covering concerts. Whatever interested them, whatever got them motivated to learn is what we need to focus on. Teaching to the test, where you have such regimented daily classroom activity, it just destroys the creativity of students and the motivation and drive of teachers to be individuals. The other thing that we need to do is lower class size. Tennessee had a project called the STAR Project, and they did a study that showed if you reduce class size in elementary schools like this very one that we're in, from a 30 to 1 or a 25 to 1 student-teacher ratio down to a 6 to 1 student-teacher ratio, you can have 100 to 1 student-teacher ratios in high school. What matters is that early elementary school education, you do that individualized education. And to me, No Child Left Behind is a hindrance to this. We need to repeal it immediately.
Mr. Hutchinson, 90 seconds.
I think when Ms. Brickley talks about charter schools, it's really dangerous. We were just at Demote Academy yesterday, and it's a school that performs really well. Well, charter schools can basically pick and choose who they want to be in the school. You know, they can, if they don't like a student, if the student's underperforming, they can say, well, thank you, but you can go home now. We don't need you back to the pits of public school. And we've seen studies from Stanford University that say that only 17% of charter schools perform above that of public schools, while 37% perform under that. And we've heard stories from Ohio, friends of ours in Ohio, who teach in public schools, who get paid practically nothing, because most of them, they don't have to have unions. It's a private entity that's publicly funded, which seems absolutely absurd to me. And so they have class sizes of like 100 where they're sitting in front of a computer, and basically all the teacher is, the babysitter says, well, you know, turn the page on your computer, and they go to the next page. That is not quality education. We need quality public schools. We need to fund the public schools. We need to lessen the class sizes. In Hartford, there'd be a ratio of 60 to 1 if there wasn't a 50% dropout rate, and that's just absurd. We could, like I said, double the amount of teachers and actually provide students with a decent education.
Ms. Brickley, 90 seconds.
Unlike Congressman Larson, I would like to see more local control of the school systems, more control back to the boards of education, and less to the federal government. What I really don't like to see is us sending money to Washington, the career politicians figure out how it's going to get divvied up, and then they send it back, and different school districts get it back based on whatever criteria. And we don't get our fair share. Everybody knows. By looking at the grants that we've gotten over the past few years, Connecticut does not do very well with educational grants or anything else of that matter. We send far more money to Washington than we get back. As your congressperson, what I will do is work to limit this government spending, limit the taxes, return more control to the district. I also think that career politicians are a big part of the problem. I mean, they're looking at the same way of solving everything, which is tax, 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 spend, spend, spend. One of the issues that we need to do is get rid of the career politicians, put in place some term limits. As your congressperson, I have signed up that I will take a pledge to serve no more than 4 terms, and I will work to fight for term limits. Thank you.
Mr. Larson, 90 seconds.
Well, again, I have to disagree with Ann. And I think Roosevelt said that sometimes you can become frozen in the ice of your indifference to what happens to people, what happens to those teachers when they're laid off, and then what happens to those students in those overcrowded classrooms, what happens to those children who go without the Pell Grants to send them to college. I grew up one of 8 children. My dad worked 3 jobs. We struggled to make ends meet, but we did it. We did it because we had a public education system, and we are encouraged by the values of our parents to work hard and to get ahead. All of my brothers and sisters received a nursing or college education. Neither of our parents did. We have got to make sure that we're providing the appropriate kind of education for our kids, and that means an investment. I'm a former member of the Board of Education. I'm a former teacher. I appreciate local control and what needs to be done at the local area, but the federal government has got to step up technologically and utilize the vast resource of the Library of Congress to help all of our students.
Mr. Kraske, 90 seconds.
The federal government has not stepped up to the plate. Since 1975, the United States Congress has failed to say that education is a fundamental human right. And I think once we do that, all the duties and responsibilities that are attended with announcing something is a fundamental human right come to bear on Congress, and they have to fund education better. I think that when I listened to Ms. Brickley talk about education, today she said she wants there to be more control among boards of education and local power. But yesterday she was saying that money should follow the child, which to me is more of a regional theory, more of a statewide theory, so I'm confused on her position on education. Additionally, neither candidate from the Democratic or Republican Party has dealt with any of the criticisms that I've leveled at No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind sets a 99% compliance rate, 100% compliance rate. Every child will read at grade level by 2014. When you set a system for 100% compliance, you set a system that fails. And what we're doing is setting up our kids for failure, and we're blaming it on teachers, we're blaming it on institutions, and I think it's a failure. No Child Left Behind must be repealed now if we want our schools to succeed. We have to fully fund our schools. And Congressman Larson talks about college tuition. Congressman, what was tuition when you went to Central Connecticut State University?
Well, it is today.
And that's a problem. Today, children cannot go to college today. It's so expensive.